In this video, we're going to be going over the $95 Chase Sapphire Preferred credit card versus the $550 Chase Sapphire Reserve. These two cards are absolute behemoths in the travel credit card game. And how we're going to do this is it's going to be my first time of displaying this type of information and dissecting it. And we're going to do this together where we'll get that satisfaction of a mathematical approach as well as what you need to know from a qualitative standpoint. With that, let's get straight into it. So how we're going to do this is compare the Chase Sapphire Preferred, which I'll call CSP for the rest of this video, and the Chase Sapphire Reserve, which I'll call the CSR. And what I've done is also put a couple acronyms, which some of us may or may not be familiar with, or just using different terminology in general. And on the left side of this Venn diagram is our CSP, and on the right side is our CSR. And in the middle is essentially that common intersection of what do both of these cards share in general. And this is going to be more of the quantitative kind of analysis, you could say. And on the right side, towards the end of the video, we'll also go over kind of more of those benefits from a qualitative perspective. In other words, your more benefits, credits, what are the kind of nuances, and what do we really need to know to decide between one of these two cards. In other words, which one is the right card for you. Starting off with the sign-up bonus. Both of these cards share the same sign-up bonus of 60,000 points after $4,000 in spend in the first 3 months. And in English, what that means is it's $600 in terms of cash back if you redeem each of these points for 1 penny per point through Chase's just capabilities. And if you actually redeem these points through Chase's portal, it could be a different value depending on which card you have. And then there are other ways you can redeem these points where that cents per point value could differ. We'll stick with a high-level overview between these two cards and everything they have to offer, and then I'll drill down deeper as we get further along in this video. Starting off with the Chase Sapphire Preferred, the annual fee is $95. Here we also have the effective annual fee, which I've noted it as annual fee minus credits. In other words, credits that are cash-like equivalents, which you could redeem for any type of purchases or otherwise. And specifically in our case, it looks like this for the Chase Sapphire Preferred first. There's one primary credit, and it's going to be for $50 towards a hotel booking through Chase's travel portal specifically. With this $50 hotel credit and subtracting that from $95, our effective annual fee for the CSP is $45 each year. Coming to the Chase Sapphire Reserve, the annual fee is $550. Yet in credits, you get a $300 flexible travel credit, which essentially is $300 for you to spend wherever super flexibly towards travel purchases. That's not limited to just eating out, for example, or buying a flight ticket. It could be booking a hotel stay. And this is all not necessarily through the travel portal. This could be organically as you're going out and about, whether that's paying for parking or otherwise. With that, our effective annual fee is $550 minus $300, which comes out to $250. Coming to the earn rate for the Chase Sapphire Preferred, you get 5x on Chase Travel, which essentially is their travel portal where you can book airlines, hotels, and rental cars. And you also have 2x on general travel purchases, period. So whether you're booking Uber or you're booking a hotel, let's say not on the portal, but in general, you'd be getting 2x on those purchases. And these 2x are basically in forms of points called ultimate reward points, where you can redeem them for cash back as well as use them in different ways, which we'll get to shortly. This 3x on online grocery is essentially online grocery orders, not actually when you're at the grocery store. And then you have 3x on streaming services. This is going to be for items like Hulu, ESPN, Disney Plus, etc. There are a couple earning categories that are the same between the Chase Sapphire Preferred and Reserve, and specifically both of these cards, before we get to the Reserve in full, they're going to give you 3x on dining when you're actually at the restaurant or taking out those orders as well, and 1x everywhere else as your miscellaneous / general category. Coming to the earn rate for the Chase Sapphire Reserve, first we have 10x on Chase Dining. Chase Dining is essentially a collection of restaurants / merchants which are partnered with Chase, where when we spend at these locations or with them, you'll be getting 10x points per dollar spent with them. From there, we have a couple different earning category tiers within Chase's travel portal, where when you book hotels and rental cars through them, you'll be getting 10x points per dollar spent. And if you book flights through that portal, you'll be looking at 5x. Before moving on to other benefits and perks, One of the superpowers of each of these cards individually is that the points you earn on them, if you redeem on Chase's travel portal, with the Chase Sapphire Preferred, they're worth 1.25x, and with the Chase Sapphire Reserve, they're worth 1.5x. What that means in English is that coming to this common point of 60,000 points, I'll use it as an example, 60k times 1.25 essentially means that, hey, you're going to get $750 worth of travel if you redeem all those points on Chase's travel portal if you have the CSP. And in the same vein, if you do that 60k, in other words, $600 times 1.5 is where you're going to get $900 worth of travel with the Chase Sapphire Reserve. There used to be a time when the Chase Sapphire Reserve's bonus was 50,000 points, whilst the Chase Sapphire Preferred stayed at 60,000 points. Because of these multipliers of 1.25x with the CSP and 1.5 with the CSR, if you do that quick math, it's going to be 60k times 1.25, which is $750 worth of travel, and 50k times 1.5 is again $750 worth of travel. So both of these cards at a point were giving the same value in terms of a sign-up bonus to be used on Chase's travel portal. Coming to the benefits of this card, there's one that's shared between both, and it's no foreign transaction fees. And with travel cards of this caliber, we kind of assume that's the case, but just want to point it out. And with that, coming to the benefits of the Chase Sapphire Reserve first. After your 1.5x on the Chase's travel portal in terms of redemption value, you also have Priority Pass, which is a network of 1,300 plus airport lounges worldwide. And you also have something known as the Chase Sapphire Lounges by the club, which essentially is similar to Amex's Centurion Lounge Network or Capital One's growing Venture Lounge Network. Basically, you have the Chase Sapphire network, quote unquote, as well. And over here, you have global entry / say pre-check / next. This essentially is $100 credit that you get every 4 years to be used for these type of perks or benefits to pass through security checkpoints, basically at the airport, that much faster in general. With both of these cards, there's something known as partner benefits, which essentially are merchants that are partnered with Chase, where you either get credits that are monthly or to be used in a certain quarter, or just a bigger discount / cashback earned for each and every dollar spent with said merchant. These merchants do switch out period over period. So at the time of recording, some of the merchants, I'll put them up on screen, are examples of Lyft, DoorDash, Peloton, as well as Instacart. Before getting into the qualitative analysis section of this video, which essentially is me sharing my experience with both of these cards at different times of my life, as well as both cards at the same time back in the day, it's essentially, apart from the numbers, what do we really want to know of why we should choose one card over the other? And so right before we get there, I want to understand these numbers with us together and see, are we really getting that bang for buck? Or what do we really need to know if we're going to spend X amount for an annual fee? Is it really worth it for us, whether it's the CSP or the CSR? So starting off with the sign-up bonus, both of them have that same bonus with the same spend and the same time frame of requirements. So I'm just going to nullify it as if it's math where there's no value of picking one or the other. They both come with it, so it doesn't really matter. At the same time, in terms of earn rate, everything in this common section, including the benefits, it's basically the same difference whether we choose the CSP or the CSR. So it doesn't matter which one you choose. If you want 3x on dining, you can choose one or the other. They both give it to you. It wouldn't make a difference. If you want 1x everywhere else, which a lot of other cards also offer, then it doesn't matter which one you choose. And from a benefits perspective, again, no foreign transaction fees, it's the same logic. Which really then gives us the information of, okay, hey, for $45, what you're going to get is basically the opportunity, we'll call it, to earn 5x on Chase's travel portal, 2x on travel purchases, 3x on online grocery, and 3x on streaming services. But here's the thing. I'm going to keep this strictly as the Chase Sapphire Preferred versus the Chase Sapphire Reserve, but the reason I'm mentioning this is because of simple details such as 5x on Chase's travel portal. That 5x is great with the Chase Sapphire Preferred, but you can also get 5x on the Chase travel portal with no annual fee cards that are also offered through Chase. So with this being said, I won't open the can of worms or Pandora's box, but we'll keep the comparison very strict between these two cards. 5x on Chase Travel, that's not bad at all, because those 5x is really at 1.25x in terms of your points worth. It's like you're getting 6.25% back in terms of cash value to book travel on the portal. The caveat is the portal could be sometimes more expensive, so definitely try to look around, whether that's on other travel websites, maybe even directly with the actual airline, to definitely understand that, hey, am I actually getting a better deal by having these points worth 25% more, or am I overspending in the first place? For the same $45 annual fee, if you're getting 2x on travel purchases, 2x to me, it is 2 times points, and points within the Chase ecosystem, you can transfer them to travel partners such as airlines and hotels, and it's similar to other companies that have this capability, such as your American Express or Capital One. The point is, with 2x on travel purchases, that's good. At the same time, there are a lot of 2% certain kind of cashback cards, or another way to put it, 2x is not that much more than 1x everywhere else. So for $45 to pay to get that extra amount of earn just for your travel purchases, it's up to you if that's going to be worth it or not. 3x on online grocery. This is going to be either you love it or it doesn't matter to you. At least that's what I've noticed from my side personally, where groceries, I understand. You know, you go to the store, you shop, it's all good. But if you're not used to ordering groceries online, or the flip side where it actually is a part of your lifestyle, then 3x on online groceries could be pretty phenomenal for something you're already doing and you're getting a pretty decent earn rate in general. 3x on streaming services. I don't think I really need to explain this one. I think this one's basically how much are you actually spending on streaming where 3x even matters. So in other words, if you're spending, let's say, even $100 on streaming a month, however that's being done, it doesn't matter, but let's say it's 100, then 3% of 100 is basically $3 in terms of cash back, which is $36 a year, which is almost at $45 in terms of annual fee. So maybe in that situation, it could make some sense. But again, like, are you going to be spending, let's say, $1,000 a month ever on streaming services that are eligible merchants, let's say with Chase? Maybe, maybe not. So what I'm getting at is also understanding how scalable is this earn rate is really important, where if you're not overspending and not buying things that you weren't going to do anyways, then are you ever going to spend, and let's say, $10K in a year on streaming services where 3% of $10K is $300 back? But was that ever going to be a reality in the first place to get a card that gets you 3x on streaming? So just some food for thought / kind of the way I think about it personally. Coming to the Chase Sapphire Reserve. Here we have a $550 annual fee, and over here you have $250 in terms of your effective annual fee. So this $250, what are we really getting? Your earn rate, you're getting 10x on Chase Dining. You're also getting on Chase's travel portal, 10x on hotels and rental cars, and then 5x on flights through that portal. Weirdly enough, even though it's a $250 effective annual fee, if you're the target market for the folks that are actually spending in these elevated earning categories, it could actually make sense, and a lot more sense than the Chase Sapphire Preferred in terms of taking a quick example. Let's say we're spending $100 plus a month on these 10x earning categories such as Chase Dining, as well as booking rental cars and hotels through Chase's travel portal. We get 10x for every dollar spent, so 12 months times $100 plus a month, let's just call it $1,250 even, just for an easy example. So $1,250 times 10x points is essentially 12,500 points that we would earn. And redeeming these points for cash back would be $125. If you redeem it on the portal, it's a bit more. And then depending how you use these points, if you transfer them, let's say, to a partner such as Hyatt, and with them, 12,500 points could be worth, let's say, 2 cents per point very easily, and it's super normal to be redeemed at that value. In other words, that's instead of $125 in cash, it could be worth $250 of cash value. This is without even using any of the other benefits this card has to offer. And there are other benefits where for the same $250 of annual fee that we're paying, we're also going to get the likes of, let's say, Priority Pass, which is a network of 1,300 plus lounges worldwide, and lounge access with the CSR is not happening with the CSP, so you have to have the Chase Sapphire Reserve to get into these lounges. And then the global entry / TSA pre-check / Nexus, that's basically saying that, okay, hey, since you get $100 every 4 years, then in that fashion, you are getting some type of extra benefit that you can either use for yourself or literally you could just use it for anyone else if you wanted. And here's now my personal experience and insight, apart from just the numbers and everything you can find online and sit down and do a very similar analysis as we did right now up to this point. Now let's get into the actual part of what really matters. The first I'll mention is the portal. And on this portal, I would say the reason I'm mentioning it is if you just want a simple card, and both of these cards are travel credit cards, and I would assume you're using these points for travel in general, and you can definitely cash them out and you can do other things like redeem them for gift cards on the portal and otherwise. Point being, My assumption is if you're using these points for travel through Chase's travel portal, and let's say you don't want to get into the whole travel partners, transfer partners, how do I get max value with my points and otherwise, if you just want a very simple, straightforward method, usually that's what a cashback card is for, where you're just earning a fixed amount of cashback on a certain category and otherwise. But in this regard, let's say that you have 1.25x value of your points on the Chase Sapphire Preferred portal and 1.5 on Chase Sapphire Reserves, and you're just happy knowing, hey, I'm getting that incremental extra with the Chase Sapphire Reserve, and mathematically everything makes sense for me to pay a higher annual fee to then get more value through the actual portal, then definitely that's your answer right there. On the flip side, if you're someone actually looking to maximize and looking to actually use points through transferring them to hotels, to airline partners, etc., and get even more elevated value, that's where I would probably look at the earn rate of these cards and understand your actual spending lifestyle / setup, because in this regard, if your points are going to be transferred out anyways, all the points you earn with the Chase Sapphire Preferred or Reserve, they transfer it at a 1-to-1 ratio to these partners for the most part. And between the both cards, they have the same capability. So in other words, there's no reason to pick one over the other because there's no special partner that's on the Reserve that isn't there on the Preferred or vice versa. It really is fair game all across the board. Simply put, if you have 100,000 points, true, on the Chase Sapphire Preferred portal, it's worth $1,250 worth of travel. On the Chase Sapphire Reserve portal, it's worth $1,500 worth of travel. But if you can take those 100,000 points and redeem them for, let's just say, some type of business class trip, which would have cost you $5,000 in cash or something, just an example, then you can get to that same outcome by having either of these cards, period. From there, we have something known as Chase offers. These are essentially merchant offers where you're getting a certain amount of cash back or some type of perk or benefit when shopping with a certain merchant. The reason I have this on this list is because the Chase Sapphire Reserve in general has better offers than the Chase Sapphire Preferred or other just Chase cards that I've noticed in general in my holistic experience. The point is, with the Reserve, the amount of money, literal cash back you could earn if you're actually doing organic spend at a lot of merchants that they have, and I'll put what it looks like in my own account on screen for context. Essentially, it could make more sense to go with the Chase Sapphire Reserve just purely on Chase's offers and what they have to offer, no pun intended, because it could just make more sense mathematically in general. Moving on from there, I would say the next one, it's going to be lounge access. And although we touched upon it in this video earlier, I would say that the biggest question that a lot of people either ask me, or I'm sure if you're into credit cards too and you come this far, appreciate you watching, and in general, anybody who came this far. Point is, if it's like, hey, how do I get airport lounge access? Or which card's the best? Or I really want to get X card, but it doesn't come with lounge access and I don't know how to feel about that, right? So all of this really comes down to the point of the Reserve has lounge access, the Preferred doesn't. It's very straightforward. You could have the best travel card in the dang world, but if it can't do the thing you want whilst you're traveling, or that was the whole point of why you got the card, or it's frustrating for me, but I more feel bad when people say like, oh man, I thought my card has XYZ benefit, or why doesn't my card allow me into this, airport lounge or whatever, right? So the point is the Reserve has access, the Preferred doesn't. It's as simple as that. If you want lounge access, the Preferred is going to be a no-go. From there, coming back full circle with everything from travel and purchase protections and travel protections, I'm going to put some information up on screen which gives you more detail into each of them for the CSP and the CSR. Feel free to pause and take a look for your own consideration. 3 quick things before we close out. The first is there's a link in the description below to get in touch with me directly. We can talk about credit cards, personal finance topics, life, whatever you want really. And overall, it does come at a cost. We'll get to speak one-on-one. It's purely dedicated time focused from me to you. At the same time, there is a special project that I'm directly involved with. It's a 500 plus hotel room project that's happening in India, and we're seeking out investment and raising capital as we speak at this very moment. So if that's something you're interested in learning about more as well, feel free to book some time, whatever cost it is. I'll refund that to you if you're interested in learning more and moving forward. The second thing is these cards are basically top notch. They're stellar. It really comes down to your personal preference of choosing one over the other. But if you really value lounge access, then you know which card to go with. If you don't care about that and you care about just one big bonus and then not caring about that card later, then sure, that option exists as well. But it's not something I'm promoting here from my side. So in the end of the day, it's going to come down to your choice. The last thing is that this was the Chase Sapphire Preferred and the Chase Sapphire Reserve. But there's 37 other Chase credit cards, and to know everything you need to know about them, click over here, and I'll see you there.